Hi everyone, my name is Tony Carcamo, President of Civil CAD Learning Solutions, and thank you for attending this webcast. This will be the first webcast. We're actually going to be doing a series of introductions. We're going to get to know our Autodesk Expert Elite members, and today we actually have Todd Rogers from Walter P. Moore. So Todd, if you want to do a quick intro of yourself.
Hey, Todd Rogers here, BIM manager for Walter P. Moore. I've been there a little over two years now. Been in the industry going on 28 years, so been around for a minute. Autodesk Expert Elite. Also on the board of directors for Augie, so I'm the secretary for Augie and also the copy editor for Augie World Magazine. So I stay pretty busy.
Cool. So, what was your first Autodesk software version did you use
Release 10 for DOS.
for DOS?
For
And were
DOS.
you using it for an engineering company or was it school or?
So directly out of school, I graduated from the Art Institute of Houston in
Mhm.
'95 and worked a little bit during school, but it took me about 6 months to land a job, and it happened to be a little civil engineering firm,
Mhm.
and we were using Release 10 for DOS and had the big digitizer and
Mhm. I
started
remember
out with a
that.
4-button puck and graduated to a 16-button puck, so it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Um, I started my first introduction to Autodesk products was 1997 when I joined the U.S. Air Force and we were using AutoCAD 12. So we just learned some of the basics there. So and then after that we upgraded to 14 in 2000, and then eventually upgraded to um, Land Desktop. So did you ever use Land Desktop?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
It
it
was
wasn't too bad of a
a good
software.
tool.
What did you think about Land Desktop?
I thought it was a great tool. It had its limitations, though.
Yeah.
The dynamics were not there at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the functionality that was in Land
Mm-hmm.
Development Desktop never did make it over to Civil 3D, and
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of kickback from that, and there still is. I still see people and hearing of people using that Civil 3D 2009 with the Land Desktop in it. So,
Oh man, I remember that. I remember that.
yeah.
I remember.
I just never liked rebuilding tin lines.
Do you remember when 2000 the very first Civil 3D version came out?
Absolutely. 2006, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Or
it
was
was
a 2006
2005,
version, so it's
2006. Yeah.
yeah,
So and
2005.
I remember I convinced our company to go purchase it and use it, and man, so many bugs and trying
Oh
to
yeah.
use it, and
Yeah.
everyone's so lucky nowadays because you have social media to get training. You got YouTube, you got blogs, you got Autodesk forums. You know, so many materials to learn. But back then, it was just I better call Autodesk.
It was trial and error back then.
Yeah, yep, exactly,
A lot of
exactly.
exploding.
So right now, what is your some of your favorite design software that you like using? It doesn't have to be
Civil
Autodesk; it could be
3D, of
different
course. Yeah,
companies.
Civil 3D, of course.
Hmm.
As far as design, it's hands down Civil 3D. I use some visualization software out there, such as
Hmm.
Twinmotion. I love it a lot.
Yeah.
I've used Lumion in the past. Twinmotion seems to be a little more easier to work with than Lumion.
Hmm.
They're basically the same thing. You get the same results out of it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
It,
of course the AEC collection I use quite a bit.
yeah. Isn't there kind of a drastic price difference between Lumion and Twinmotion? I think there is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When I first purchased Twinmotion, it was like $1,500.
Yeah.
Maybe not even $1,500 because yeah, it was a little over $1,500 because that was in euros. They sold it in euros because it
Yeah.
was owned by Advent.
Yeah.
Um, since last year, Epic Games purchased
Hmm.
Twinmotion, so it now runs exclusively off the Unreal Engine.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I've been dabbling with the software a little bit, Twinmotion and Lumion, going back and forth, playing around and seeing which one is more user friendly, which one can you learn quicker than the other, positives and negatives. Um, so can you tell me what have you done in the past to do self training? Now you're an expert lead like myself. How did you get to this point? How did you learn and the software you're using now?
Well, I had to get some training, of
Hmm.
course. The training was kind of limited back then,
Hmm.
um, but it was, from what I can remember, it was like a 5 day course. Now it's like a 3 day course, and all this information shoved into 3 days. It's
Yeah.
just, it's totally different. Other than that, it was just learning on my own, trial and error.
Exactly. I took one class. That's when Civil 3D came out. And after that, it was strictly every day during lunch, watching some webcasts from all the resellers at the time. This is 1997 to 2001. I was taking just every day during lunch, reading somebody's blog from these resellers or some experts online, watching webcasts, and then spending maybe an hour or two at home just playing with the software, see if I can break it. What does this button do? And just playing around. And that's actually how I learned, and using the software, and then taking advantage of any kind of free courses online. So I did that for 20 plus years. So, but most of it was all, I would say 95% self-training.
Content, the
Yeah,
resellers are a dying breed these days, so you're
yeah.
not getting as much content from them like you used to, and
Hmm.
that was where the content came from. It wasn't Autodesk,
Yeah.
it was the
Yep.
resellers.
Yep. Yep. And I remember when Civil 3D came out, it actually came with a book, if you remember. So,
Absolutely,
yeah,
and a
and there's no
disc,
books.
a
So,
tutorial disc.
yep, the disc, the tutorials. Yeah, it's funny how far we've come. So,
Yep.
so what do you think is the hardest software to learn, across any platform that you've used,
Probably 3ds Max. It's just so much to
I,
it.
yep, it,
Civil 3D ain't no punk either.
yeah.
you know, it's if you can't figure out styles and settings, you're out of there. But
Exactly, and I totally agree about 3ds Max. I've tried to learn it. I've taken one class at AU, and man, you got to stick to it. I would say 3ds Max and then Civil 3D, um,
yeah, for
but
sure.
it's extremely hard. And like you said, styles. If you don't understand style base in Civil 3D, you're going to struggle, and that's what I've seen
Yeah,
engineers and designers struggle understanding styles. And so, but yeah,
gotta have
definitely
that
Civil.
template file.
3ds Max. So I
Yeah.
would say probably Revit number three.
Revit,
Um,
absolutely. Oh
yeah.
yeah.
So what do you think is the easiest software to learn and get a good understanding?
Uh, Probably Navisworks for me.
Yeah.
Navisworks was really easy. There's not much to it,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
does a lot. You know.
I have my Navisworks as number two. I thought InfoWorks was pretty user friendly. I mean, I really think so. Compared to other software, that you could probably get a really good understanding within probably 3 months using it. Be
Yes,
a good, I don't want to say power user, but you can achieve a lot within 3 months with InfoWorks.
absolutely.
Uh,
Yeah, there's a
so,
lot of workarounds for that thing though.
oh,
It came a long way, and then
yeah,
it took a lot of back steps,
yeah.
and I just don't know, man. It
And
frustrates me sometimes.
it's there's no perfect product out there. You can say everything's got pluses and minuses. But okay, so where do you think the software is going to be in 10 years? I have an idea where I think it's going to be or where I wish it could be. Where do you think? And I know we're both highly involved with the development team with Autodesk and stuff, but we have a roadmap, what's happening. But in 10 years, what do you think it will be?
I think it's going to be all an integration, like they're heading toward BIM 360.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're all going to be working in that type of environment,
Mm-hmm.
with dashboards and things that are updated live, so
Yeah.
you can see what's going on with your project throughout its life cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, at least that's my vision.
Mm-hmm. I I kind of agree. I think within the 10 years, I could see Civil 3D, InfoWorks, Navisworks, Recap all into one software with multiple interfaces, like we're doing in Civil 3D right now. You can just switch the workspace, and you got Map 3D, and you got AutoCAD, You know, so I really think, and I hope it goes that way, where I can just switch back and forth the interface. I don't have to open one product to export it out and then get into another one like we're kind of
Right.
doing right now with InfWorks and Civil 3D. So and maybe Revit will be the same way. It'll stay in that same kind of interface. But I'd love to see all those civil products all combined into one product.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
but what would be one important tip you can give out to maybe a Civil 3D tip or even an InfWorks tip to users that are probably attending or watching this? You know.
Don't believe the smoke and mirrors. It's, I preached smoke and mirrors for
Mm-hmm.
10 years, man. When I worked for a reseller, and, getting all this latest, greatest software
Mm-hmm.
and putting it into a big production environment, it does not work the
Mm-hmm.
way they tell you it does. You have to figure out your own workflows, figure out your own workarounds, study, find, network,
Yep.
find solutions. That's going to be your best bet.
I have one tip, I guess, since I use Civil 3D as my main product for designing, is when you're working on large projects, you know, a lot of surfaces and corridors, is to turn off the automatic rebuild. You know, I've had situations where I'm playing with feature lines, I'm typing in elevations, and I left out the period, and now you got a million elevation value, and it tries to rebuild and sits there and locks up the program. And then when you try to open it up, it did an autosave at the same time, and now the drawing is 1 gigabyte, and now you got a problem because it keeps rebuilding every time you open it and refreshing. So that's my personal tip for people is like larger files don't have automatic rebuild turned on. So,
Right. And to add to that, if it's a data shortcut, you want to
mhm.
make sure that you're using that data shortcut as reference only and not
Oh,
embedded into the drawing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So tell me, I guess, a funny story you may have learning in software. I have one or two funny stories I have, you know, maybe
I
silly
got
or
a
dumb
few, but
mistakes I've made.
one that sticks with me that I used to talk about when I teach class was I had just taken the Civil 3D course. I believe
Mhm,
it was in 2008. It was
mhm,
my first time I went for training on it, formal training, that is.
mhm.
So I get back to the office and they're like, "Oh, Civil 3D now. You can do volumes for us." I'm like, "You bet you I can, man. Let's do this." So we had an existing detention pond
Mhm,
that they were going to make deeper and wider.
mhm,
Easy. I take the feature line, I go around it, enter all the existing elevations,
mhm,
take the proposed, go around it, enter all the elevations. Done, right?
mhm.
Something made me go into the elevation editor because I really liked this elevation editor when I
Mhm.
was introduced to it. And I checked the existing and they had changed. I was like, that's weird. Okay, maybe I hit a keystroke or something.
Mhm.
So I fixed them and I went and checked my proposed. They changed as well. I was like, okay, so fix them,
Mhm.
go back to the existing, they changed. So I fought with this for 3 days. And I finally broke down and called my reseller. And I'm like, look, man, every time I change the elevations on this feature line, the other one changes. And he's like, do you have them on two sites? I'm like, okay, talk to you later. So simple
Oh my
operation
goodness.
drove me absolutely mad.
I
I had them on the same site.
oh my
So I
goodness.
changed one, the other one updated. Changed the other one updated.
So my funny story is when Civil 3D came out and I was playing around with it and I never really played with the line weights button. And I accidentally hit it. I didn't know I hit it, and I opened a drawing. All the line weights are real thick, and I said, "What is going on?" And I have a submittal that day, and I'm freaking out. And I was like, and I didn't do a test print. I'm just trying to figure out why is all the line weights so thick, and I'm freaking out. And I close the drawing, I pull the back up, and it pulls up the backup, and I guess I hit the button again or something, and the line weights come on, and I lose a complete whole day. And I'm freaking out. I have to pull the all-nighter to the next day for that submittal, and end up being something silly like that, a line weight button that
Wow.
a feature I never use and I never try out ever.
Well,
You
you're
know,
not a
so
microstation user.
yeah,
That's a microstation user thing.
yeah. So I felt like an idiot then, you know, once I found out that button. So, and this is when Civil 3 just came out. So, but that's one of my funny mistakes. I've had other mistakes where I'm working on drawings, but they're on older platforms. And you're working through it, and you're trying to meet a deadline, and you get into the wrong version, you know, because you got multiple versions on your computer, and you get done, and then somebody's like, "Hey, I can't get into the drawing," and like, "What are you talking about?" And you go to your desk and you're trying to figure out what it is, and you later find out it's your mistake because you opened it up in a newer version, so you had to pull
Yes.
up a backup. So I've had that happen before. So, but
Yeah, I've seen that several times.
but um, so what are your thoughts about the VR and the AR industry? You know, where do you see it going? Do you think it's a great idea? Companies using AR and VR. You know, we see architects use it a lot, but now we're starting to see the civil industry using the AR and VR technology. So,
Yeah, we're a combination of civil and structural. So Walter P. Moore, we do pretty much all of the sports stadiums around the U.S. and in other countries as well. The coolest thing was when I first started working for Walter P. Moore, we actually have a development department,
oh wow,
and those guys write code for virtual reality.
oh wow,
So I got to sit and walk around the Los Angeles Rams stadium, and I thought that was the neatest thing.
hmm
So these guys are real cool at programming this for you.
hmm
Now I've been watching this stuff on AR here
hmm
recently, and
yep,
it's getting really advanced now.
hmm
I'm more and more interested in the AR
yep,
side of things now because there's more how you say, there's the equipment that's coming out now is a little easier to
hmm
use than it was
yep,
before.
yep. Uh, the one great thing I love about it is that, you know, some companies like to use it as a marketing tool. I see it as a site planning tool. So to visually create a plan for a developer and let him, you know, bring in a project to life, and he can make changes before the project even starts, before he even bought a property, and say, hey, this is your finished product. Is this really what you want? You know, and they look at it and say, hey, yeah, okay, let's make some changes. And you don't even have nothing, you know, under contract yet, you know, and it kind of saves the client money. And that's what I'm seeing the benefits of VR and AR technology is doing some revisions up the upfront end of it before the engineering gets involved. Because if you try to do any kind of revisions doing engineering, that's an ad service. You know, it could be a lot of
Yeah,
fees, added
absolutely.
fees. So that's where I think that AR and VR is amazing if you can do it at the front end of it. So not as just a
Absolutely.
simply marketing tool to put on a website and to show off something that's already constructed, or you know. So
Yeah, exactly.
yep.
Exactly.
So, but yeah. What's your thoughts about? I guess this is my last question I have for you. AU and where it's going. You know, rumors are that, you know, it could be the last time in Vegas. So what's your thoughts on that, possibly?
Well, I used to like it when it
Mhm.
was at different places. Maybe we go back to Florida again. This virtual thing,
Yeah,
I couldn't even tell you if I'm going to even watch one session of it. It's
I,
just,
I doubt it too.
yeah, I mean, my whole thing is I liked going to Vegas to, see my peers
Yeah,
and my buddies,
yeah, yeah,
my other expert
yeah.
elites and get
And
to hang out and bounce ideas off each other and drink a lot
exactly.
of beer.
Drink a lot of beer. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, that's why I see the benefits of uh, or people like us is going to meeting other experts and bouncing those ideas, sharing knowledge. You know, so I really enjoy that. So
Yeah.
um, I would love to see AU go to each state. You know,
Oh, that would be great.
maybe Texas at Cowboy Stadium. Can you imagine AU at Cowboy Stadium? Oh my
Come on.
goodness! I mean, that's mind
Be
blowing. You
great.
know, they
Yeah.
have the space, they have the conference rooms. You know, I'd love to see them come to Texas, then go to different major cities. You know,
Yeah.
host it twice
Hawaii.
a year or something. You know, make it a little bit smaller, but host it twice a year. So I think it'd be amazing if you do it.
Yeah.
So,
I think
Imagine
Midwest
doing,
U's going to come a long way. Yeah,
imagine seeing the keynote on the big Cowboy Stadium
yeah,
screen.
all right.
So I think it'd be
Exactly,
pretty cool, and I think we have all the facilities here. But yeah, it should be interesting where they go. So, but
for sure.
well, thanks for coming, man. I really appreciate you coming out
Thanks for
and
having me,
doing this
man.
vidcast. I got some other expert leads lined up, and eventually we're going to reach out to other experts, basically across the pond, across the
Yeah,
ocean to other countries.
looking forward
So I'm
to
kind of
that.
looking forward to that. So, but
Yeah.
any last comments?
Just thanks for having me, man.
Yeah,
This is the second podcast I've done the last week, so I'm kind of digging this new thing, you
there
know.
you go. Yeah,
Yeah, so
we're
everybody
hoping to.
stay safe, and
Yeah. We're
thanks
hoping to
again
do
for
this
having
maybe
me.
twice a month, and then eventually we'll start digging deep a little bit more into the technology and the software. So,
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great.
all right, cool. Well, have a good weekend, Todd.
Thanks, you too.
All right, later. Bye.
Bye.